Greetings, community. It's me, Kevin. 1-2 Comic Talk with Christy Shin, Oratora Studios. Hey, Christy.
Yeah. Oh, this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
The
just
thing.
now getting used to that.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of like it's reversed. Like I think it's this way,
Yeah,
but then it's
yeah,
like the other way. It's mirroring, so I have to kind of point towards my desk, which is actually opposite side. So yeah. Hi guys. How's
exactly.
it going?
Yeah, I hope the community's doing well out there. And by the way, a fine morning to you. I didn't get to wish you a good morning yet.
Good
Hope you're
morning.
doing well.
Doing good.
And today is really cool because oh wow, hi Punker Panda, you're new to us. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Hey, Punker
Um,
Panda. Thank you. I think that
hey,
might be.
and there's Rod. Hey, Rod.
Hey, Rod.
So
How's it going?
today is special to me because when we first started this, Christy, you were the first on here, and at the time you were doing your Kickstarter thing, and it brought it to my attention that if I could ask of you to hang out with me and do shows like this so we can help out people, that it meant a lot to me. So when we first started this was only a few months ago, and I never disclosed this up until recently, but I had this ambitious goal to be able to pump out basically 15 artist alleys. And you even made mention, because we were in this lockdown, let's take advantage of the situation. Let's help out who we could.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you were saying, if we can get multiple people on here, let's do it. And I thought that was not only really selfless of you to make that recommendation, but it drove me. So what I decided to do is I want to do a certain amount of Kickstarters. I want to make sure there was a certain amount of individuals up here that we could help out and spotlight. So today is a big thing because, one, we've been able to now do, this is the 15th one. I know we've been leading up to this. That was my goal, 15 in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And to do a minimum of 3 Kickstarters in that time, if we could help out, and you being the first. And essentially Garrett and who we're about to introduce are two of which is two of the last that we get to assist in the sense of he's already made it. But my point being, I had a definitive goal in mind, and we, as both you, Christy, and 1-2 Comic Talk have been able to achieve. And I feel really good that we've been able to bring the community stories and people that they may not have been able to be in touch with, especially in this time. So without further gilding the lily, let's bring in the individual of the morning. Let's welcome Kenny.
Hey,
and
Kenny.
I did
Hi, here I am.
ask his last name. Is it Aitkin or Aitkin?
Aitkin.
Aitkin.
Okay. So Kenny, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome here on this Artist Alley show. This is a story that when I spoke to Garrett and then indirectly was looking things up on you and speaking about you with Garrett briefly, I came across a story that I noticed that you were doing and doing a Kickstarter for. And I don't know if you know much about me, and it's not about me, but I did study a lot of Asian philosophies, art. I am a practitioner of the art of war. I practiced mixed martial arts since I was 25. The art that I practice is a form called Shorinji Zendo-ryu, which was developed by an individual named Professor Scornia. He traveled around the war during the 50s and went to multiple places, and he developed a system that was based off Chinese, Japanese, Okinawan, and so Filipino-based systems that he also traveled abroad. So when I was reading about your stuff, it touched on everything that I enjoy. Science, animals, martial arts, the practicing of just the mental and philosophical aspects of the art of war, the culture. And again, I could go on, but I won't. I promise, community, I will stop on this 5-minute rant that I've been going and allow you, Kenny, to please give us a synopsis of both yourself and the story Apex Cybernetic Samurai Owl.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. Man, I don't even know where to start. So my book is about a cybernetic samurai owl. He was created in a lab and escapes, and then he gets trained by, he gets found by a old samurai master who trains him to be a samurai, and then he becomes a hero, basically. So that's
But how about if we regress? How about we start with you? Now you've been in the industry for a little while now, and you've been working with people like Garrett, who we had just recently. So if you could give the community a little background about you, like your writing, your art style, all that.
Okay. Well, my name's Kenny. I've always been an artist. I was an artist. Did a lot of artwork and stuff when I was really young, and right around the time I was 15, I just kind of went into the workforce and started, working all the time and stuff, and really just kind of dropped it for a long time. And then I injured my back and my neck, and I was on disability for a long time and got back into art. And basically, I just started. I wanted to go paint. So you can see one of my paintings here. This is a little experiment in the background here.
I was noticing.
So that's a self-portrait. It's a pretty weird kind of thing I do. But basically, I wanted to get back into art, and I met a couple guys that did comic books. One of them was Garrett, and a couple of other people did stuff. I'm like, wow, I really wanted to do this when I was young. I guess now's there's no better time to do it than now. Like anybody can do this now if you really want to. So basically, that's kind of how I got started into that. And I really wanted to do something simple. I didn't want to make a whole book. I was really resistant to the whole idea. I wanted to make a web comic because I was like, oh, this will be a lot easier, less commitment. And Garrett's like, just do a full book. I'm like, okay, let's do it then. And then that's kind of how I ended up here.
No, but the dynamic of this is like, it seems like little pieces that many people are familiar with, but the way it's put together is totally different. And you've also, to me, seemingly focused a lot on the cultural and philosophical aspects of, how should I say, a place and time than just the story of the cybernetic owl. I mean, it seems to me that you're really taken back by a culture, and it comes across in what little of the story that you gave me. But can you give the community what seems to me to be a love for what you're doing as far as your description of the culture?
Yeah.
Is that am I off?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm a huge follower of Japanese culture. I just actually finished my first year of doing Japanese language, and it's been really fun. I've been having a lot of fun learning from my senseis who are both native Japanese people, and it's great. We just learn a lot about the culture and the language and just pretty much everything in Japan. So it's been pretty cool. I've always been a huge fan of kaiju monsters. It was kind of one of the original concepts for the book, was that Apex was just this really overpowered owl, and he was just really small because he's an owl, right? And he'd just take on giant Godzilla type monsters, things like that, and it was just really silly and fun, and a lot of that element still kind of in the main book.
Yeah, I'm actually a huge kaiju fan myself. I mean, I'm older and I remember all that. I guess some of the stuff that really hit me hard was Gamera and stuff like that. It wasn't just the stuff.
I fucking love Gamera, with 1996, the version of Gamera. When I would actually watch the movies, I'm like, holy shit, this is good. It really showed the love of the rubber ones, the old school Gamera. But what I liked about this one, they actually put in the story, but they put enough of the people in it, but it wasn't annoying. That's what annoyed me about the American style movies, because they put so much of the people. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear about the people. I don't want to see them fight. Go destroy things. Go kill each other, I mean, that's the thing. In the 60s, yeah, they had that. They had people interaction, but it was mostly the people were the spectators watching these two big things fight each other. And there was one, what was the one that was the knife? I'm trying to remember. It was,
oh man, I don't know.
but it was crazy. One of them cut him in half or something. I was like, oh shit, So, I mean, even for the 60s, even though it was kind of funny now, it's rubbery and it's funny then. I mean, it was funny then, but when looking back, oh shit, they were trying to be hardcore. But
well, no, it was kind of hardcore for back then. No, I agree. There was a few of those movies that were really, and yeah, I'm a huge kaiju fan myself.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
getting back to your story, Kenny, it seems to me that you're implementing a lot of the cultural aspects into the storyline, and it seems a lot more complex than what you initially described as a simple story. This story it's seemingly pretty complex. There's a lot more depth of character than just one character in here. You have a lot of supporting characters. Can you give the community a little in depth behind this story, if you will?
I really just try to include as much. I do a lot of studying about. I want it to be like kind of accurate to like what I'm talking about, I guess is what I mean. So I don't want to sound like it's like a bunch of bullshit or whatever, and I want it to or like make somebody like, oh, that's somebody get upset because it sounds stupid or whatever. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say. It's kind of hard to put it.
I mean, the thing is,
well, I guess what you're saying is some scientifically based, accurate type model is what you're trying to replicate.
Yeah, or just like just try to be culturally accurate when possible, just because I don't want to be offensive or really just like I want to make sure I know my shit before I write about it.
Sure.
Mhm.
But it gives a lot of validity to something that at times we have to suspend anyways, and if you can go ahead and not ask the reader to go ahead and suspend all, what I mean, known beliefs about things. And yeah, no, it allows a person to go ahead and, I guess, fall into the story a little easier.
Well, and also like the thing is that there's like you can have enough parody in a culture without seeming offensive. Like you look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like some of that was parroting the hand in X-Men and in the Marvel universe, because like Ethan thought it was just ridiculous. Like, okay, so we're going to call it the foot. But actually, there was some really good deep storytelling out of the whole thing, even though he was parroting that. And like, I think in a way, he was sort of parroting how the Western mentality views sometimes Asian culture. My background is Korean, so I kind of see that. It's like, oh, the samurai, oh, the honor. It's like, all right, okay, guys, enough. Enough of that stupid shit. And then how Asian cultures interact with each other, like how they interact with Japan, how they interact with China, how they interact with Korea, how they perceive each other. It's interesting because it's like, I think you can touch upon that. I think if you're doing too obviously, honor and everything, like people get kind of annoyed because it's been overplayed.
Right.
But I think if you're parroting that to a point, I'm not saying this with your book, I'm just saying in general, then I think like if you pull it off, I think you can laugh at that, like in a way. So in a sense, like I think, sorry, my neck is stiff. But with Eastman, he was able to pull that off because it's like, it kind of made fun of that, like a whole ninja culture and everything. Oh, that, that sort of weird, like, okay, enough, it's like, that's been overplayed. But I have to ask you, like, because I read the synopsis of Apex. Why an owl?
Man, honestly, I don't really know. I used to draw this stupid character a long time ago, and I called him RoboHawk, and it's actually funny because I found some like little drawings of it in my garage a couple months back, and I'm like, holy crap, this Apex thing's been around for way longer than it actually was. So RoboHawk was actually like basically my original drawing of Apex, but he was orange and he had like some like more he had like a gear for an eye. It was kind of like a stupid thing, but maybe he'll come back. I don't know, but I just thought it was kind of funny that I was like, I had totally forgotten about that, and then I found that and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This has been around for a lot longer than I knew. But I think the owl thing just came from, I was really trying to make something because the original concept was that he was really overpowered, and I was like, what animal has no predators? And I looked it up, and like it was an owl, and like owls like kill everything. So I just thought, oh, okay, I guess I'll just go with that.
That kind of reminds me of my friend who has a Savannah cat. Like, well, his friend does. So they're legal to own in Orange County. And there's different ones like F1 to F4. F1 is like the most wildest. That's the most direct hybrid of basically it's a serval and a regular house cat. And then they vary in size as they go more domesticated. So F4 is more domesticated. So I think they have an F3 or F4. And that fucking thing kills everything. It brought home like, I think.
How big is it?
He says it's pretty big. Like, I think Savannah's cats can, like, F1s are like probably 2 feet high or something. It's very long too. Like, if it stretches out, I'll have to ask him, but it's bigger than a house cat. But it hasn't killed dogs or house cats, but it killed an opossum. It's killed a coyote. It's just that fucking
a coyote. Wow, that's a beast of a cat.
Yeah, and like this German Shepherd rushed at it, and he just looked at it. He's like,
oh man,
it just funny. Ran away. So it's like it just kills everything, that it can. But it's just it's like a pretty cool cat. I mean, I think if I were to get something like that, I'd probably get a Savannah. I wouldn't be dumb and get a fucking tiger. And you can't get a serval here in California because it's illegal. And now people are probably going to be like, "Oh my God, you want fucking a wild animal?" I would know how to take care of it. I'd study up on it. Don't worry. Like, I actually love owls. That's the thing. Like, I asked, why an owl? But I love owls just because they kill everything. Some do have predators, but it depends on like what kind they are. But but like how they kill and how they are, like the barn owl. That thing, like, it just looks so beautiful. But when it opens its mouth, it's like half of its head splits open and lets out this godly screech. Yeah, but it's just this beautiful thing. But it's just the moment it opens its mouth, it's just this terrifying looking creature. I mean, that's the point because it's pissed. So,
and the fact that you did choose that, you chose an animal that has, I mean, a considerable amount of strength. It doesn't make any noise when it's gliding. You know what I mean? And flapping almost at times. It's almost seemingly. It's very smart. So again, like touch on what Christy said, you end up choosing an animal that has a lot of attributes, and then you go ahead and you pump them up. So what is the overall goal of your first book? If you can kind of give us something that you wouldn't spoil, but kind of.
The first book really just basically introduces all the main characters. It has just basically setting up for the overall story for the rest of the series. I always have a hard time with like media and comic books that just don't end. So I have definitely an end in mind for the whole thing because I like something that goes from start to finish and then it doesn't milk it and go too crazy. So I have an end in mind for the whole series, kind of. I mean, it hasn't been written yet, but it's there.
So how many issues are you thinking in the series?
Right now I have 2 arcs written, and I think I'm going to do a third one. So it'd be 2 or 3 3-issue arcs.
Oh, beautiful!
Yeah, it should be.
And
should be.
If I followed correctly, which I think I have, you're now in a stretch goal, and you're only less than $200 away from the stretch goal. Is that correct?
I think so. Let me look here. I think, we're just like $60 from the first stretch goal. So I went pretty simple with the first stretch goal. It's just stickers. So
let me actually.
Do you
have a link to?
I think I dropped the link in the description below. I think I did, and I'm just now looking that up, Christy. And so I think community, if you want, you can go ahead and find his link below. I'm trying to jump on us right now, and then
okay, nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a little bit more organized there, Christy. I really am. And as I've been working in the yard, when I've been taking breaks, I've been trying to do a little bit of research. It's been coming up on 11 months that we've been doing this. I've taken a YouTuber's advice. Shout out to Perry Comics out there at Perry. And he made mention, look, give yourself time. Give yourself almost a year before you want to decide that you want to make a major investment into this. And I've been, hitting up Kai. And as long as he keeps wanting to do this, I'll keep doing it with him. So I've been trying to do a little brushing up and trying to get a little more fluent with, this whole thing. But back to you, Kenny. Do you mind if I actually show a couple quick pics of your project
absolutely.
that you're working on?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And
sweet.
I
didn't pull it on the computer, but what I'll do is I'll just throw a couple quick sheets that I actually printed up. So this is Apex right here. And I dig this art. This is some of the stuff that I really enjoy. This is very clean.
I got Brian making me look real good on those. Yeah, that's actually going to be an alternate cover for issue 2. So I had Nick Torres drew that one for me last year, and I was going to use it for the first book, but it has the dinosaur on it, so the dinosaur doesn't show up until the end of second book. So that's a spoiler, I guess.
I'll do this one only page, but I will not show the dialogue. And yeah, this is really my style. This is stuff that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a lot of stuff, but this is really something that when I was looking at the art, and I got to touch on what you sent me as far as the storyline. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm in. You know, I don't know what I need to do to get all this stuff, but that was another reason why I asked. You know, how many arcs? What was in an arc? Because yeah, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and have you get in contact with a few people that I know, like June and a couple other stores that I know, and see if we can get you in a couple of these stores.
Cool.
Along with you, community. You know me. I tend to buy more than one issue, and then when we have this out, when I have a physical copy, we will have Kenny, and he made mention that he will be able to bring an artist with him. We'll make that unveiling when we have a lockdown on that individual, and we can go ahead and actually state who this person is when we lock these persons down. But what I'm getting at is, when next we have Kenny on, we can go ahead and hand out one of these hard copy issues to the community at the end of the show. That's what we like to do.
Yeah, right.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, from what I've been reading on this thing, I'm jacked. I really want to read this book, and I think when the community actually gets to see what you're offering as far as a story that goes beyond just a regular story, that you're actually interjecting a lot of cultural, a lot of philosophical, a lot of things that books like this are not always made readily available, where there's good moral stories or good philosophical stories attached to the overall story plot, I guess. You know what I mean? And I'm an onion guy, so it seems to me that you're writing this in multiple layers of, depending on who you are, it depends on what you get.
Right.
And
yeah.
It seems like there's a lot here.
It's pretty. There's a lot of that. But there's also a lot of, like, I like to like kind of have like I try to throw like Easter eggs in there that aren't so Easter eggy, because like sometimes you're like, oh, that's obviously an Easter egg, but there's some Easter eggs in there that you may or may not catch, which I don't know if I'll ever tell anybody what they are, but it's fun. It's just fun just putting stuff like that in there, and maybe someone will catch it, maybe they won't. I don't know. It's just way cool. So.
Can you tell me about how you end up hooking up with some of the artists that help you create this project?
Okay, so the first thing, so Brian is the line artist, and I met him through Garrett. So Garrett was telling me for a long time. I actually drew the first. I was trying to do the book by myself for like 9 months. I finished the script in the end of 2018. And it was like September 2018. We had a big fire up here, and it was crazy. Like, we were all we were evacuated from our house for a week. And
I remember that. I remember my parents were calling me about that, because it was they were more southbound. They're in the Bay Area, so
yeah. And I mean, there was one down there too. There was one in Clear Lake, this place I used to live there down there in Clear Lake when I was a kid. And they had a big fire down there too. I think it was called the Mendocino Complex Fire, and we were getting a lot of smoke in the valley from there. And I live up north, and we had some really big, nasty fires here. There was the car fire and then the campfire. During the car fire, we were evacuated. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I better get this thing done. So I spent a few weeks basically in like 3 coffee shops, just like, nailing this thing out. And then I decided, all right, I'm just doing this whole thing by myself. I'm going to draw it. I'm going to color it. I'm going to letter it. I'm going to do the whole thing. And then I realized, no, that's not what I'm doing. So Garrett's like, hire an artist. I'm like, no, I just resist him the whole way. And finally I was like, I drew like 10 pages. It took me like 9 months to get them all done. And finally I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to hire an artist, and we're going to start doing this. So in October, I hired Brian, and he just like shits out pages like you wouldn't believe. And I mean, I'm so behind right now. He's, I have like 15 pages to color right now. So finally I hired him, and it's been great. We got a good working relationship, and he loves doing it. And I every time he sends me a page, I'm just like, man, this guy is just like stepping it up every single page. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I have noticed that as I've been doing these things with people, that I found that there's a beyond the relationship that an artist and creator, colorist, letterer, beyond that relationship, there's a functionality that allows everyone to be able to fire on all cylinders. And I found that when people have found that it's almost like a great recipe for chili, they don't want to abandon it. You know what I mean? And it sounds like to me that you're putting that great bowl of chili together.
Yeah. I've been really lucky to have like a lot of really cool people to work with and a lot of cool people that, you know, give me advice and you know, push me when I don't want to be pushed and things like that. Like Garrett's just been kind of like, he's been like pushing me so hard, just like do this, do that, do this, like do that. And I try not to ask him too much advice because I don't want to like be annoying. You know, we're like good friends and stuff, but I still don't want to be like, hey, you know, how do I do this? You know, so I try not to do that too much. But I mean, I've had even other people that are just like, hey, you know, try this or try that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And, you know, it usually works out. And everybody that I've worked with so far has just been super cool and, you know, super easy to work with. I haven't had any issues with anybody. It's been great.
That's a good thing. I mean, the thing is that you kind of have to balance how you handle things. Some people, like, they're more like push. And some people, like, they need a little convincing. Sometimes some people are just, you know, I'm going to just do this myself. And it works out great too. So it really, you got to find your balance. I mean, I don't think it's bad if you ask for help. But I mean, if you ask for help to a point where people are like, okay, like, you know enough, you need to do it yourself. Now that seems like I'm being mean, but like, it's like I've had people ask me advice like, oh, how do you set this up? And I say, oh, it's this. And if they need clarification, I'll talk to them. But sometimes they'll be like, there are people that ask me every 5 fucking minutes about like, oh, should I even color this in? I'm like, you know, you probably need to take some time and look at that before I give you anything. Cause it's like, I can only give you my input, but ultimately this project's about you, you know?
Right. Some people aren't ready for the answer you're going to give them.
You know, I don't think it's just like blunt, like, oh, well, is it good or is it not? It's like, well, this is my own opinion. Like I can look at it and say, oh, this sucks. And it works out for you. So, I mean, there's sometimes I don't like the writing. There's sometimes I don't like certain things because they suck, but I'm not going to get into a jerk off conversation about it. That's my opinion. Like if it works out, like there's some comic books up there that I'm like, I don't know if I really care about them or anything, or I think this person's like overrated, but I don't really go into this whole hate fest about it. It's okay. I just don't like it, but plenty of other people do.
Right. It's all subjective too. So, I mean, some people don't like certain things and that's fine. So,
yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean I hate the person or I think they suck. It's just, you know, I think that's fine, but I like certain things that people aren't into. And I'm like, oh, well.
Right. I it's kind of one of
every time you keep saying Garrett, I'm not certain if the community.
Hello? Oh, he froze. Whoops. Give him a moment when he, because sometimes the internet has been
yeah, there we are.
Okay, cool. What were you going to say, Kevin?
There we go. Yeah, the internet kind of jacked me there, but you keep making mention of Garrett, so I just want to be clarifying. You're speaking of Garrett Gunn, and you've been working with Garrett Gunn too, who also. Now, I know this is not even about Garrett. I just want to throw this out there so the community understands how he's doing and about his project. Because like you made mention, Kenny, we just had him on here.
Yeah.
He was doing a Kickstarter for Warcorns. It not only got so successful on the Kickstarter, he announced last week that they're doing a mini-series now.
Yeah.
And he brought on, I think it was a Kit Willis that's coming on with him to do art with him.
I think so, yeah.
And so my point being is that it's amazing how it keeps growing. And I'm only hoping the same thing for you, that after this, that we hear that your stretch goal went beyond, that you are on schedule, and that, you know, hopefully, you know, by this time next year, you'll be on your second arc going, yeah.
I hope so.
Because I mean, I've talked to people and I know it does take time. That's what I'm getting at is when you break everything down, how long do you think that you would be able to have your first arc done and available to everyone? Because I know like Christy, she does everything herself too. So I know it's a daunting task.
Right now, I'm in the process of coloring book 2, which is another 25, 26 pages. And then I'm getting the script ready for part 3 for Brian. So as soon as he can draw it, I color it and we get it off the letters. And we got an awesome letterer, Justin Birch. He did the letters.
Oh yeah, we know.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's been very busy of late too.
Yeah, he's really cool, really nice guy. So I mean, I'm looking at probably having the rest of this first arc done by September. I'm hoping to have it all finished.
Oh wow! Oh, that's great.
It's moving along really quick. So, and with school being out, I just finished up my semester, so I'm looking at having a little bit more free time too. So, and then obviously the kids got to get out of school too. I got 4 kids, so and I'm homeschooling my 2 little ones right now because of the closures and stuff. So. Once everybody's out of school, we're gonna have a lot of free time to get that stuff done. So,
yeah, that's a good thing. So, yeah, no, I mean it's very exciting to see this. It's always, I mean, personally, from running a Kickstarter myself, it's always exciting when you hit stretch goals because, like, even though like if your goal hits 100%, you say, I mean, you have to admit emotionally you feel like I'm rad, I can do this. But when you start hitting the stretch goals and going beyond, it's like I'm a superstar. You know, you got.
I haven't processed any of that yet.
I mean, you might actually process it differently or later. Like for me, when I hit my first Kickstarter goal, like in 2 weeks, like the first one that I did, I was like this, like I just went limp, just kind of like that whole stress of holding it up. And then now just for me, it's like also like when I hit the goal, it's like, okay, that's over and done with. Well, let me see how much more I can make. It's always that kind of personal thing with me, but that's how I am. But I'm just saying, like everybody processes it differently. Some people are just happy at the end of the whole time. I made my goal. I'm so happy. But now it's just like, no, I got to set the bar higher and higher. But that's just who I am. Right. You know, I mean, also people react differently. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Like I look at it and I'm like, it's crazy that I think it was like yesterday. It's like 92 people, and my son comes in and he's 5 and he goes, Dad, you only got 5 days until you're going to the worldwide. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He like looks at the thing. He's like, look at it, check it out. And he's like 5. He's like so into it. I'm just like, it's kind of surreal to me because I've never done this before. So I'm kind of like, what is this experience? You know, I don't really understand the whole experience yet. You know, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I got all these people that are supporting me, and it's crazy because I never could have even imagined that would even, you know, outside of like my little circle and my family and friends and stuff, that people would be like, hey, this is cool. Like I want to, you know, join in on this. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool.
So how many Kickstarters have you run? Is this your first one?
This is my very first one.
Oh, you're doing very well for your very first one.
And yeah, I've had a lot of help. So
yeah, that's a good thing.
And again, it's a testament of what you're writing and how you're writing it and who you're presenting it to. You know, I mean, this is, I've seen a few of these, and Chrissy, I'm sure you've seen way more than I will probably ever see in my lifetime. But I mean, to me, this really hit me well. I mean, it's a well presented piece. It's a story that I think a lot of people can get into. It's not haphazardly put together. You know, you got solid people behind you, and this is a solid story. This is not, I don't know, and it might be because I'm biased in the sense that you've hit everything that I appreciate. It's well written, it's well presented, the art's killer, the colors is perfect because you could have went to where it was just overly popping and everything, but you didn't. You know, you made backgrounds that are just very, very Japanese, very, very peaceful, very serene until it gets very ugly and very violent. Does it get turned? You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's very picturesque, I guess, is what I'm getting at, how it's presented.
This is on another angle. Sorry to interrupt, Kevin. How it kind of reminds me about how it could also appeal to people. And I know you weren't aiming for this, but you know, this is what kind of struck chords in me. Is when I was reading about it, I was like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, granted, it's not a whole bunch of turtles. It's about a raptor. It's not about mutation, but bioengineering and, you know, all this other stuff. But it's like got some elements and the coloring and everything. Like when you look at the old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how they had those bright colors, the master and all that. Even though this is samurai and not necessarily ninja, I know they were completely different. But it kind of sparks that nostalgia. And for me, I also thought of Silverhawks. So I remember that fucking cartoon. Like it wasn't
I love it.
Yeah, the super hugely popular cartoon. It wasn't really all that much, but it was done by, I think, the same animators that did Thundercats as well.
Yeah,
back in the day. And I think it was supposed to be all in the same universe, but Silverhawks never took off quite like Thundercats did. But I wish they would remake Silverhawks, because I think it's actually a pretty decent story. I mean, even though it's kind of like, oh yeah, 30 minutes, like they go out and they do whatever, they fight Monstar, whatever. And yeah, maybe it mirrored Thundercats in a way. But because like the whole Mumra versus Monstar type dichotomy.
Right.
But I think it kind of reminded me of that, because even though I don't think owls are in the same form as raptors, but they're both winged predators. So it made you kind of think about those two combinations of everything.
Right.
So again, I'm not saying that it's exactly like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the touch on that. And even Rose is saying the old school TMNT was beautifully done. Yeah, it does. It does. Even though the art is beautiful and polished, do not take this the wrong way. I'm an artist myself, but it's got that rough edge that I think people like, because sometimes lately, if you've noticed, a lot of popular art is very smooth, very polished, very pretty. And I'm not saying in any way that art is bad, but that variance you have with the other one where it's just rough, even though like I can't quite erase all the pencil lines. I can't quite clean up and smooth out my ink lines. I mean, I have that with my artwork. It's very sketchy. It's very rough sometimes. Right. So I think people like those two different opposites.
I follow a lot of concept artists, and it seems like you get a lot of that kind of variation, like kind of sketchy / half rendered kind of look with a lot of things, because they're trying to shit out a lot of ideas in a quick, short amount of time. So I'm a huge fan of that style of art, and then like Brian's art style is just phenomenal. I feel like we're a really good match together.
Yeah, and again, I've seen instances where the art looks too polished, but there is no soul. But then I've seen rough art that looks like shit. So it's like, it's a good balance. And I think like it appeals to a lot of people, because I think in some ways they like the really overly polished stuff or the really polished stuff. But after a while, I think they get tired of looking at the same thing. So they look at the other stuff and say, oh, there's that,
I think one thing too is a lot of people don't really remember, is like, or don't realize too, is like people look at the art for like 3 seconds as they're cruising through there. So I don't want to spend 30 hours on a page if somebody's just going to look at it for 10 seconds. I want it to look good, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But
sure.
I mean, I'm not painting a Picasso here. It is a comic book. So I think subtle and to the point is pretty important.
Yeah. At the end of the day, for me, predominantly speaking, I am a substance buyer. I buy a product for its story, predominantly speaking. I am hoping all the time that the art best represents the storyline, and to me can entice me enough to say, ooh, that's a variant, that really it's not something I need, but I like it because of the art, but the regular interior is all the same. So my point being is, yeah, if the art can best exemplify the story, and it doesn't matter if it's polished or if it's rough, you know what I mean? It has to properly fit. And I think that's kind of what I was saying before, is it seemed like you found your fit. You found the artist that best represents your story, that seamlessly allows you to be able to tell your story and be able to keep on schedule. And it works. And that's something that you don't always get. And the cool thing about it is for me, is it appeals to me. It's exactly what I like for the story that it is, and you don't always get that. Like what Christy was saying is, sometimes you can get these beautiful rendered digital things that it's gorgeous. However, it's so soulless and cold that unless it has a brilliant story being told behind it, kind of like what you're saying, Kenny, oh, that's great. And you turn the page.
Right.
And that's it. So it's like, okay, it doesn't appeal to me on a story level, or it's great to look at for a moment, but I'm not going to rip that page off and slap it on my wall. Right. So yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, even why I dig Christy's stuff is there's substance there beyond just the art that I really need. And if it's actually something that I can, I guess, make a contact with, something that I can relate with, it's not something I'm going to buy.
Right.
And I think that's something that I think you've been able to touch on, maybe, and not necessarily notice that people are connecting with your story, with your art, with everything about it. And even though it might be your first one and you're still like trying to get over the surrealness of the reality of what's happening, people are digging this shit, man. It's cool.
That's super rad. Like it.
I think we're all jumping on the bit to go. We're just waiting on for, when they're able to deliver the book, and touching on your Kickstarter. On your stretch goals, what are you offering as far as stretch goal aspects?
So the first one, we're doing a sticker. I wasn't really sure what to put because I was like, what do we do? So I just kind of did what a lot of other people do. I just did something really easy for the first one. The first one's a sticker. The second one is I have this stack of ash cans that I made. So they're first appearance ash cans. I think I have it at 4,000. Every physical backer is going to get one of those. I made those to give away at conventions, and there's no convention, so I was like, hey, let's put this as a stretch goal, and for the collectors, that want to have like a first appearance kind of thing, that people like that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just a black and white. It's like the first 10 pages of the book, I think. It's all black and white. And then
fucking hey, that sounds great. Yeah, by the way, I think Justin's saying hi.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hey, Justin.
Yeah, no, that's that. No, see, that's a great stretch goal. That's something that I would like to actually see more people do. Offer a ash can along with, you know what I mean? To me, that's a great incentive.
I like them. I had when I first got them back from print, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a real thing now. Like I have this like it was the first time I physically held the book. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome.
Ooh, please describe to the community what it's like to hold your baby for the first time.
Oh, it's amazing. It's it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. If you've ever made something, it's a little different because I'm also a painter, and when I paint things, it's not the same feeling at the end because I'm like, oh, but usually by the time I'm done with the painting, I'm done with it. I'm like sick of dealing with it. But with this, it was different. It was like, man, I made this thing. It's cool, it's cool to finally like have it in my hands because it's like kind of virtual, because I'm doing it on the computer and coloring on the computer. All my line art comes through the computer, and then when it comes out to print, I'm like, whoa, this is like a real thing.
I was watching a interview with Neil Adams, and I was actually speaking with him last year, and the reason why I bring this up is kind of touch on what you were just saying. He was once asked how many people does it take, or how many people would he be suggesting to do a piece of art, and he he said it takes two people to do a good piece of art. One is the painter. The other person is the person holding the gun. Because painters will just go on forever, right? You keep going, and it tends to be like what you're saying. When you're so sick of it is when you're going, okay, I'm done, or until someone stops you and says, stop, are you done?
Sometimes the person holding the gun is also the painter.
Yeah. Precisely.
I think it's really important, like, though, even with painting, I take painting classes at the local college here, and just having community like in that helps a lot, just because you have critique times and stuff like that, and it just helps so much to get feedback from people, and being able to, and also one of the most important things I think is also learning to decipher what good criticism is, and learn how to give good criticism, but also learn how to take good criticism. Because a lot of times people think criticism is saying like, oh, this sucks, right? That's not criticism. That's just being a dick. But giving good criticism and learning how to take it. Because sometimes somebody will say like, I don't like this, or I think that, you should change this. This will make this better, right? And the goal is to make it better, right? And people don't know how to take that criticism. Sometimes they take offense to it and they take it personally. And I think that it's important to learn, that kind of stuff, especially with I've learned that from painting. And I think that's helped me with the book too, because I've just, I seek out criticism and stuff like that. Like I gave the book to Garrett and I'm like, hey, here's a script. Here's the book, tell me what you think. And, he's serving as the editor on the book now. And, he's pushed me, a lot. And the same thing with like the art community is just, getting together and, learning from each other.
Well, you're already receiving praise from a person that I already have decent amount of respect from. I mean, Justin right here is basically saying that, hey, this is a book to look for.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
And yeah, he says it right there. It's a good book. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I don't usually ask people what they think of it because I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna say. So like, I gave the scripts to Justin, and he lettered it, and I never asked him what he thought of it. So that I appreciate that, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, it's again, I've come across a fair amount of Kickstarters and a fair amount of stories, and this was one that, and it might be just because it through Garrett, it's along my line, my vein, my taste, I guess, meaning it's not his project. I'm just saying because of the people that I guess he knows are akin. Hey, Aitkin, to his writing and his his telling style. So I guess it just, I don't know. I'm looking forward to this book, but it's because it touches on so many aspects, as I made mention earlier, that I appreciate too. Hey, Dylan, that I'm chomping on the bit, man. and I'm happy to say that you've made your goal. You're on your stretch goal. It's only a matter of time that I believe that you're going to exceed the stretch goal, and you possibly be looking forward to that next stretch. But outside of that, when is this ending? When is your Kickstarter officially ending?
Let's see here. Thursday, I believe. Let me double check just to make sure. The 21st, whichever day that is. So Thursday,
Okay.
Thursday, I believe at 1 p.m. I think on Thursday.
Great. So community, you still have time to jump out there. Up until the 21st is when you can go ahead and assist on this Kickstarter. You'll find information in the links below in the description. And Kenny, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think I said anything, did I?
Oh, I thought you were leading into something. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
But I mean, outside of that, I think my only real request would be, when this is made available to the community, that I ask of you to reach out to me so I may buy a couple of these things so I can then have you back on here with your artist. And then we can go ahead and at least give at least one of these copies away. And we'll get people chomping on the bit for a story that I want all 3 arcs. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to come back. This has been really cool.
Christy, before we take off, is there anything that you want to tell the community that's going on with you?
Well, I'm running a Kickstarter myself too. So that's going to be on the 20th. So what I can do is I can put the link up here. You guys can follow it and preview it. So it's in preview mode. But what you can do is you can follow it. And so when it goes live, that very same link will actually put you to the Kickstarter. So I'll put it up here and put it right there. So you guys just go ahead and follow it, and be sure to tell your friends and have them follow it. That way they'll know right away that it'll be up. I'll also put it in the private chat here too. So.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
And Kenny, again, if you can go ahead and just give the community a little, synopsis again of where they can find you, how they can jump in on your Kickstarter and so forth.
Okay, so Apex Cybernetic Samurai Owl is about a lab-created owl, and he escapes captivity and becomes a hero. But he learns how to be a samurai from an old samurai master, and then becomes a hero. And it's going to be about 3 arcs. I got the first arc in the works right now. I'm on the 2nd book right now. And that's basically it for the synopsis. And then you can find me. You can find my Kickstarter. I think we have the link in here somewhere. And then just at Kenny Aitkin Art on pretty much every social media. Instagram's probably the best place if you want to reach me, or Facebook. I don't really do Twitter too much. It gives me a headache.
Me too.
And I try to go on there, and then I'm just like, oh, this place sucks.
The thing is that I just try to respond to people that directly respond to me, or some of my friends. I'll retweet them, but I don't go and fucking scan everything because it's annoying as hell. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it has its advantages. I think it's not algorithm based, I guess, from what I heard. So I think it has some advantages where it's still chronological, unlike Facebook and Instagram, where it's like, oh, I haven't seen my friend's posts in like 6 weeks, because the algorithm isn't showing it to me, Yeah. And I mean, these are my best friends, and and then you start wondering, well, do my friends still like me because they're not liking my stuff anymore, But they're just not seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So it's like, it's kind of funny unless somebody goes on to your profile on Facebook, stalks you. It's annoying.
Right, totally. So yeah, just basically Kenny Aitkin art everywhere. I'm on everything. So
cool. And you did make mention that you're going to have some blank covers coming in. So does that mean that you are going to be doing some commission pieces?
Yeah, well, some of those are part of the campaign. So for $50, you can get a custom. I actually have an artist proof here. This is
so look at that. Oh, I wish. Wait, no, put that back up. Okay, so
this one's from the printer. So
that's
just one he sent me for a proof. So
sweet.
So issue 1 sketch variant for this one, and here I guess I'll just show you a little something. So this is the convention exclusive variant. This is what I didn't actually have my covers yet when I sent in for proof. So I just went ahead and got this one printed. So this is an artist proof here, and this one was actually illustrated by me. This was one of my favorite drawings of Apex. So
it kind of looks like the old school like mecha type thing, like Astro Boy and stuff like that. When they do through the schematic.
Yeah, I did. Actually used to. I modeled it after a Mega Man thing. I can't remember which one it was, but I'm a huge Mega Man fan. So Mega Man and Wolverine, just like totally my biggest 2 inspirations for this whole book. So
I would play Mega Man a lot, and I'm like, fuck, this game is hard.
It is.
One of my sons, Kai plays that. Yeah, shit, man, that boy. But hey, community, thank you very much. We appreciate you for stopping by. As Kenny made mention, you can find him on the various social media platforms. We did put a link below. Please check out his Kickstarter. It's going to be ending this Thursday. We look forward to having him on again. And when we do, we'll definitely be handing out a book then. And from us at 1-2 Comic Talk, we are out. Thank you very much, community. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.